Campaign spokesman, the Finance Minister, Matthias Cormann. Thank you very much for joining us. You've been here in Canberra, of course, through the campaign in your spokesman role. Have you been helping out in the debate prep today?
No, that's very much a matter for the team around Malcolm Turnbull. Right. I was not part of that.
But you're across the detail, I'll humbly suggest, more than most of them. I mean, you have something to offer, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm a member of the team and I'm doing my job and I let everybody else do their job.
All right. But as far as you know, the PM has been carefully preparing for tonight's debate today?
Well, look, the Prime Minister tonight will talk about our National Economic Plan for Jobs and Growth and about the need for the Australian economy to continue to successfully transition from resource investment-driven growth to broader drivers of growth. And of course, he will focus on the importance not to take risks, that this is not the time for political instability. This is not the time to go for a team which doesn't have a plan for the economy, which just has a plan for higher taxes, which will hurt jobs and growth.
Do you think he needs to tonight, though, move away from some of the campaign slogans? And I understand both sides have them. You need them. This is what election campaigns are about. But does an event like tonight require a broader or a fresher explanation?
Well, this is a very important part of our message, obviously. I mean, this campaign is about a clear choice between a team which has a plan for the economy, a plan for jobs and growth, and a team which doesn't. So obviously that will be fleshed out tonight and that will be a very important consideration for people across Australia on the 2nd of July.
Let's talk about the plan for jobs and growth, seeing as you raised it. It's centred on the 10-year company tax cut plan. We saw at the Treasurer's debate here at the Press Club a couple of days ago, Chris Bowen arguing it's unfunded. Now, it is, I see you laugh, it is in the budget papers, obviously, but it's true, isn't it, that there's not some sort of spending cut to offset this $48 billion?
Well, that is actually wrong. So we are paying for our enterprise tax cut by cracking down on tax avoidance and by making various other changes on the revenue side of the budget. We are making our tax system more growth friendly. That is
so the multinational tax changes pay for the company tax.
Well, if you look at the effect of policy decisions on the revenue side and on the spending side of the budget, they both pay for themselves. So we have paid for all of our spending increases with spending reductions in other parts of the budget. And if you look at the net effect of policy decisions on the revenue side, they also, of course, broadly pay for themselves. Now, the truth is, Chris Bowen and the Labor Party are trying to have it both ways. They are spending the savings, so-called, from not proceeding with the company tax cut several times over, but they say it's not in the budget. The truth is that the cost of the company tax cut is reflected in the budget bottom line, but as we always said, the changes on the revenue side of the budget overall were never designed to increase the overall tax burden. That is the difference between the coalition and the Labor Party. We want to raise revenue better without increasing the overall tax burden on the economy because we want to strengthen growth, create more jobs. Labor wants to tax more, to spend more, and they still have a budget black hole.
But you've put forward this 10-year plan, and you've costed it $48 billion. The multinational tax changes aren't costed over 10 years, are they?
Well, I mean, the important point is that all of the policy decisions that we've made, are reflected in the budget bottom line over the short term, like over the 4-year forward estimates period, and over the medium term to 26, 27. And if you look at the projections in our budget, which were confirmed in the independent pre-election economic and fiscal outlook, you can see that based on our policy decisions, based on current economic parameters, we are projected to get back into surplus by 2021, and that we are projected to remain in surplus all the way to the medium term.
That's built on the iron ore price staying at $55. It's built on nominal growth jumping from 2.5% to 5% in a couple of years.
Well, it's built on the best available information at present.
But if that doesn't happen, what then?
Well, every budget is always based on the best available information.
And all of our economic, they've all been wrong.
And all of our economic parameters were ticked off independently by the Secretaries of Treasury and Finance.
They've been wrong for the last 8 years.
I mean, if you look at the iron ore price, for example, since we came into government, we had to write down the value of, obviously, the iron ore price in our budget from $120 a tonne down to about 39, and it's just gone back up to $55 a tonne as a function of a technical assumption which has consistently been the same. So all of the forecasts, all of the assumptions were given the tick of approval independently by the Secretaries of Treasury and Finance, which is what Labor in government would have to rely on as well.
And they did the same. But if for some reason they're wrong and you don't have that revenue, I'm just saying if, Will the government post-election have to cut spending?
Well, I mean, the truth is that we always have to make the right decisions in the context, that we have to deal with. And, obviously, the reason we need our National Economic Plan for Jobs and Growth is to ensure that we're in the strongest possible position to deal with global economic headwinds, which are continuing, that we are in the best possible position to take advantage of opportunities.
Will you have to cut spending? Is that possible?
Well, I mean, obviously, our plan is reflected in the budget, and we will continue to ensure that our spending is guaranteed within the budget, that we control expenditure growth, that we ensure that we can afford what we promise, which is not what the Labor Party is doing.
To control growth in expenditure? I know the Treasurer, Scott Morrison, was making the same point on Friday, that it's about that growth in spending that he's more worried about. Yeah. Some would argue that you've got to cut spending. You've actually got to cut it.
Well, when we came into government, we inherited a spending growth trajectory which was taking us to spending as a share of the economy of 26.5%. By 23-24, we've been able to stop the increase at 25.8%, and it's now projected to come down to 25.2%. Spending growth under Labor was running at 3.6% on average per annum above inflation over the first 5 years of the Labor government, and we inherited spending growth of 3.7% above inflation over the medium term. We've brought that down to below 2%. Now, it stands to reason that as a result of our decisions, we are now in a stronger position, that spending growth is less, and that as such, debt and the deficit is less than it would have been if Labor had remained in government.
Final one. We know Bill Shorten tonight, no doubt, will want to talk about schools. He's got a plan out there to spend a lot more money on schools. The government is offering to spend a little bit more, but we don't really know much about it. Are you willing to spend more on private schools or public schools, or what's the...
Well, I don't accept that we don't know much about it. The Prime Minister and the Education Minister, Simon Birmingham, announced when we announced that additional funding, which is guaranteed within the budget, all of the things that we would do to improve teacher performance and to improve student outcomes. Bill Shorten in this campaign. Bill Shorten in this campaign.
Just on your point, will you spend more on private schools?
We are making the appropriate allocations to schools across Australia as appropriate. But the point, but the point is this: Bill Shorten, every single day in this campaign, has made more unfunded spending promises. He sought to misrepresent an OECD report suggesting that increased unfunded spending. Yeah, but and indeed, and I've told you about that policy.
My question was: are you spending more on private schools?
Well, we're spending more as appropriate on all schools,
including private schools.
Well, on all schools, and that's my point. Now, the point here, though, is Bill Shorten is making unfunded spending promise after unfunded spending promise that he will not be able to deliver on because he can't tell us how he'll pay for it. And he's misrepresenting an OECD report about trying to claim that somehow increased spending, unfunded increased spending, is going to deliver additional growth, which that report doesn't show. That report shows that better outcomes, which are not linked to just spending more, will deliver over an 80-year period a particular growth outcome. And that is something that Bill Shorten continues to completely misrepresent.
Enjoy the debate tonight. Before I let you go, a couple have pointed out that at the Treasurer's debate on Friday, you were not heckling. I was sitting right next to you, actually.
That's exactly right.
But we could hear you a couple of times. Are you going to be in the room tonight? Are you going to be chiming in?
I will be live tweeting tonight.
You'll be live. In fact, there's no mobile phones allowed in the room.
So I will be at our campaign headquarters live.
Oh, you'll be back at the campaign headquarters. Yeah. We'll look forward to your tweets. Thank you very much for joining us.